Michael Popok with the new Legal AF YouTube channel, the one that you're helping us build with our bare hands. We're going to hit 200,000 in our first 3.5 weeks of existence. 200,000 subscribers with your help. Take a moment, hit the subscribe button, and tell us you want more of the content at the intersection of law and politics, the analysis and the commentary you can't find anywhere else, right here on Legal AF MTN. Let's talk about what we're observing with Donald Trump. And what we're seeing in his campaign is really just a creation of Vince McMahon of the World Wrestling Federation. Donald Trump is no more and no better than a common garden variety wrestler Sunday mornings or Saturday mornings or Monday nights on the WWE. Donald Trump has a close connection with the McMahon family. He has a close connection personally with Vince McMahon. He's appeared on World Wrestling Federation and WWE events, all phony, all staged, all with storylines and plot lines completely made up and theatrical in order to sell a product. And Donald Trump is effectively using Vince McMahon's playbook of trying to sell wrestlers and fake storylines, to sell merchandise, to sell ratings in order to get into the White House. That relationship is so close, just so you don't think I'm making this up, that as I was watching the documentary about Vince McMahon going on right now on Netflix, I learned many, many things. I had forgotten how tight of a relationship that was, so tight that there was a billionaire versus billionaire Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump fake wrestling event in 2008, 2009 that Donald Trump not only willingly participated in, he acted like the heel in wrestling parlance, the bad guy, pulled Vince McMahon down in a fake and phony wrestling match, threw him to the ground, not a body double. Donald Trump, just 12, 14 years ago. I mean, he was in better shape then. But the fact that he would even participate in that, and what Donald Trump, who came, was born with a silver foot in his mouth, who came from hundreds of millions of dollars of money with his father, Fred Trump, what he sees in World Wrestling Federation events, or now, Dana White with the mixed martial arts and MMA fighting, is that he thinks this is a shortcut to connect with the common person, the common man, the common bro, the testosterone-fueled and raged environments and arenas. But all we're watching, my number one takeaway from the watching 8 or 10 or 12 hours of this documentary was how close of a relationship Donald Trump has always had with Vince McMahon, and how he's effectively just a fake wrestler who's trying to win the White House. Everything he does on the stage, the coarseness, the vulgarity, the pornography, the racism, the attacks on his candidate, the tough guy, the violence, the get him out of here, beat up people in his audience that are protesting, have one day of a purge or a crystal knocked to kill, purported criminals. That tough guy, that heel that he's portraying, that's just a page right out of Vince McMahon's playbook. That's just, Vince McMahon purportedly played a phony role version of himself called Mr. McMahon. And Mr. McMahon was the heel. He was hated by the audience on purpose. And he would set up plot lines like one where maybe he was going to impregnate his own daughter, or other plot lines that were equally ridiculous about his wife, Linda McMahon, who is now, just to show you how square the circle, Linda McMahon is the co-chair of Donald Trump's transition team. Linda McMahon, in a phony acting like she's comatose in a wheelchair, being wheeled around by Vince McMahon and his quote-unquote girlfriend mistress, who was another wrestler on WWE. That was an entire plot line going on. Is that far out from what we're seeing? Doesn't this perfectly explain Donald Trump's behavior and conduct? He's just a WWE wrestler. The Rock, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, any of, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan shows up at the Republican National Committee, just to prove my point, rips off his T-shirt, at 80 years old or whatever he is. It shows some sort of MAGA T-shirt underneath. Thank God he had another T-shirt under the T-shirt. And then Vince McMahon had to be sidelined from Donald Trump only because he had his own sex scandals You think that'd bring him closer to Donald Trump. But Vince McMahon has like 26 different sex scandals that his company, his billion-dollar company, WWE, has reportedly paid off. I think the going rate for him was $3 million. Every time he had a problem, it was $3 million, $3 million, $3 million. Donald Trump was cheaper. His payoff amounts were less than that. It was like $1.5 million, $1.4 million for Stormy Daniels, that kind of thing. Vince McMahon had more money, so he tripled the amount he had to pay off these women. That's the only reason he's not involved. And so his wife, Linda McMahon, who had been in the first Trump administration as the head of the Small Business Administration, the SBA, who's rumored to be a leading candidate for Commerce Secretary of all things, or maybe even Treasury. She's leading his transition team, along with some other people on Wall Street that will remain nameless for now. Linda McMahon, when she wasn't busy playing the cuckold, comatose, fake wife of Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon, as he was sleeping and kissing his girlfriend in front of her for a storyline on WWE, is helping Donald Trump get elected and fill his cabinet and fill his transition team. I will go back to what I started this hot take with. Donald Trump is nothing more than a WWE wrestler created by Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon to try to capitalize on testosterone-filled bros out there. They have to lean into the white bro vote. And that's why they go on all these crazy podcasts, alt-right podcasts with all sorts of people that appeal, from Joe Rogan on down, that appeal to a certain element in our society because they're losing the women vote. Kamala Harris, understandably, is 21 points up in the women vote. And so Donald Trump's got to make it up somewhere. So he's leaning into he's scaring the crap out of people with fake immigration motifs and attacks on Kamala Harris, right? There's an immigrant under your bed, boo. That's one strategy. And on reproductive rights, to try to appeal and activate the base of Christian fundamentalists and others who want to take a woman's right to choose. And then he's got to push for the bro vote. What better way to push for the bro vote than to act like you're a wrestler? Isn't that what Donald Trump is when he's up there? Even when whatever happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, on that day. I mean, I know something happened because somebody died behind him. But whatever happened to Donald Trump with his arm up and whatever, with the blood and the fight, is that any different than when a wrestler used a razor blade hidden in his hand to cut his forehead in order to act like he was bloodied after being hit with a chair, right? And getting up and being the heel or the hero. We're just watching a story arc out of WWE. Except it's the presidency, and he's running for the most important role in the world, the leader of the free world. Are we going to let a wrestling clown who the last time he was at a WWE event was rolling around in his suit with his long red tie on top of Vince McMahon, the billionaire versus the billionaire? I'm not sure either one, by the way, were actual billionaires at that moment. Maybe Vince McMahon. He had like a real business. Okay? You say what you want about it, but he has a business model and it makes revenue, and it has for years, with this entertainment supply that he's doing. Donald Trump, what's his business? Since the federal judge has been appointed a monitor over all of his business affairs in the last 2 years, he hasn't done one new deal that I'm aware of. Jared Kushner's out spending $3 billion of Arab money and money of the blood money of the Saudi government to make investments in the Balkans, apparently, to help the Trump family. But the Trump organization itself, not one new deal in the last 2 years. That's why you see him selling, and this is back to World Wrestling Federation, WWE. Who else sells the suit off their back? Who else sells Bibles and sneakers and coins and watches? WWE. And this is where, I don't know who exactly his campaign managers are. Allegedly, it's Susie Wiles, Corey Lewandowski, and Chris Lasavita. But in reality, it's the McMahons. This is a production of World Wrestling Enterprises, plain and simple. Every behavior we see, every conduct we see that's being played out by Trump right now is just Saturday mornings, Monday night, WWE Raw writ large. And we got to call it out. And if anybody's going, Popok, you've gone too far. Linda McMahon is the co-chair of his transition. It will be in his cabinet. Vince McMahon would be around, except he's radioactive, because of his own personal sex harassment scandals that he's had to pay off. Otherwise, he'd be front and center. There's no other way to put it. So if you look at the close connections, even in the recent documentary on Netflix, one of the people that is the commentators, or one of the people contributing, said exactly what I'm saying. Donald Trump is nothing more than a heel that there's an audience loves, and this explains much of the American psychosis that's on full display here. How he's as popular as he is, and then America loves the other storyline and arc for WWE, the heel that becomes a hero, and the hero that becomes a heel. Aren't we watching that? Aren't we watching Donald Trump, the heel? Says impertinent things out loud. He's rude. He's disgusting. He's vulgar. He's misogynist. That's the heel. And then Butler, Pennsylvania happens, and the heel becomes a hero, right? Hulk Hogan comes out of whatever. You're being manipulated by a storyline concocted by the WWE and Donald Trump to get elected. And he's pushing the same buttons in programming to elicit the same responses in people, except the one that matters to me is the response of pulling a ballot or pulling a switch or a lever for one candidate or the other. Continue to call it all out here. The close connection between Donald Trump, World Wrestling Federation, the McMahon family, Linda McMahon, who will be in his cabinet again in the future, right here on the new Legal AF MTN YouTube channel. I slowed it down there. That is the byproduct of a relationship that we always have had and always will have with Midas Touch Network and Legal AF. We got together. We said, there's so much out there at the intersection of law and politics. Let's create a new channel, Popok. And I'm curating it and the executive producer. I'm sitting at the intersection of law and politics and bringing it to you right here. We got some great new collaborations. Court accountability. Almost got their name wrong. Sorry. Court accountability and court accountability action are now platformed on with us on Legal AF, bringing you regular content about the hijacking of the federal court system all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, corruption there with their investigative reporting and other analysis and hot takes. Only on Legal AF MTN. Got a new show once a week called Unprecedented. About what else? The United States Supreme Court, whose term just opened. We'll talk about all the cases and the ones that matter to you in an analysis I'll be doing with Dina Dahl and other guests. So until my next hot take, my next Legal AF, we got all the Legal AF ecosystem right here on this landing page for Legal AF MTN. I'm Michael Popok, and I'm reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.